This is The Artistry, the show dedicated to art activists, and I'm your host, Lonita Cook. Today, we'll discuss beginning a filmmaking career after 50 and the diligence it takes to get a new business off the ground. Stephen Wallace Pruitt and wife Mary Pruitt have done just that, embarked on a new adventure together, and have found great success. Even without a background in film, they've produced 2 feature-length movies, a documentary, and have 2 features in pre-production. It's all due to not being afraid to take risks. Stephen Wallace Pruitt, PhD, is the Arvin Gottlieb Missouri Endowed Chair of Business Economics and Finance at University of Missouri, Kansas City, a musician, and proud husband and father. Art collector, wife and mother Mary Pruitt turned screenwriter in an effort to support her husband's vision. I'd say the effort paid off. Never Too Late Studios is the business they own together, producing films such as Works in Progress, Voices, and the upcoming tragic romance Terminal. Together, they teach us that it's never too late to manifest a dream. Stay tuned for Stephen and Mary Pruitt on The Artistry. Today on The Artistry, we are talking with Stephen Wallace Pruitt and his lovely wife, Mary Pruitt, and we're discussing, well, the fascinating part of your story is that you were in different careers, or you are in different careers, and then at 50, you decided to start making film from scratch, right? And so kind of the focus of today's show is going to be never too late to make a dream come true. Right. So talk to me a little bit about being in finance and in academia and then deciding to make that film.
I think that the jump was huge, but at the same time it wasn't completely unexpected, in that my wife and I have always done crazy things, and I had been in music for years before I went into, when I was in college, and so there was always that thread of artistry that was running through me. But you're right, after working for so many years in academics, and then suddenly deciding to tell Mary one day, hey, I'd like to make a movie, and so you'd like to do what? And it was certainly an interesting ride the whole way, and I have to say she's been an amazing support.
And you have been a mother and a wife, and you've done that, well, I'm going to say very difficult job, I think, but that's just because I'm a mom too. and I think that what you've done in support of his dream is beyond amazing. So what was it, simply that, well, this is my husband and I'm going to go ahead and support him, or was there something in you that's just like, I might want to make a film?
Well, it's certainly not the latter. I had never thought about making a film, and it certainly wasn't something that I thought suited my skill set. By the same token, Steve and I, we've really done everything together. We've collected art together. We've, obviously raised our 2 girls together. Anything that we've ever endeavored to do, we've done together. As opposed to a lot of couples, like the man will have his thing that he does.
Just play golf or something.
Yeah, and then then she has her bit. But most of the time, we've done things together. So when he said that he really wanted to make a movie, and that he really wanted to make a movie, then it was just a matter of saying, why not?
Right. So
she's crazy too.
So do you have a man cave, and are you welcome inside? I mean, because that's kind of the vibe I'm getting, is that you guys are really like this.
We really are kind of. I have the recording studio in the basement, which is where I'm working by myself at that time. But no, it's been a side-by-side type of thing from the get-go.
Wow.
I will say that when we started writing the second screenplay, Terminal, we did sort of adapt that to fit our writing style, where he wrote in one room and I wrote in the other.
You wrote in the other.
Right.
So making film, did it bring you closer together, or Like you said, are you saying, okay, you need to write in another room, I'm going to write and email it to you? I mean,
right.
How has working together?
Well, I have to say, when we were writing Works in Progress, we actually sat side by side just like this.
Which is not advisable.
No, this was a loser. I mean, she'd say something like, he needs to say this, and I'd say, no, he can't say that.
Right.
And then we'd have a fight over what he had to say and why. And when it came, that was just like, Jesus, it was like pulling teeth. But when we came to Terminal, we literally did. I would be in the basement, and she'd be on the second floor of the house, and neutral Switzerland was the main floor.
Right.
So we'd email the files back and forth to each other. And so I guess each one of us could be upset by herself, thinking, they didn't like my lines,
Yeah.
But it really worked out much better that way. It did.
And one thing that I learned about writing that I really did not know prior to this is that, when you're writing with somebody else, and when you have an idea, and when they have an idea, and they don't, coalesce, and many times, they're complete polar opposites.
Right.
When yours is rejected, it's
Did that ever happen?
More times than we're going to mention on the show.
I just don't even think I don't think we should go there for that.
Right.
But you truly, at least I did, and I've talked to other writers.
Right.
You really feel as if you yourself personally, because whatever concept you came up with came out of your head, and it was inspired by who you are and by your past experiences and your et cetera. And so when somebody goes, oh, that's
right.
ridiculous. Can't do that. So the neutral Switzerland, that was
so
great.
it's different than writing an entire piece and then maybe taking it to a writer's group for them to critique.
Right.
That's a different feeling than co-writing something and you guys building on this idea together, and your version of the idea is this, and I see.
It was interesting. It was a very difficult process, but in some ways really rewarding, because both of our best ideas came from even though maybe they rejected 80% of what we'd written, that one line took things in a very different direction that we would not have otherwise thought of, and we're able to, I really like this and I didn't think of that, and so
in preparation for writing together, did you take any screenwriting classes, courses together? Did you take,
No,
no, sadly.
Yeah, no, I will say one thing, and I've pointed this out to Steve. Even though we have not, we don't take formal classes. That's I can't even imagine Steve taking it. That's something I would enjoy doing. But be that as it may, Steve has been a learner from day one and a teacher from day one, and I've really gotten that from him. Love of learning. We've tried to pass that on to our girls. So no matter what we've done, Steve's always been a student of that.
Sure.
Now, with writing, he did not read books on writing or anything like that. We basically just began to write. But then...
okay, because that's fascinating to me, because as a writer, I've taken screenwriting courses and I've been like, look, I really don't get it. I was like, I know there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, but there's a specific format. It's very different from fiction. It's very different from poetry. How did you learn the structure of a screenplay?
Well, I think the number one thing, and this is one of the things I'm talking to people, trying to help them to improve their own filmmaking, it goes back to the Secret Service, and that is when they're concerned about counterfeit money, all they do is they give their people the real thing, and they're surrounded with real money. And so when they know the real money so well, they actually, a counterfeit's immediately obvious. In our case, all we did was watch great movies, and we'd watched great movies for the full 30 years of our marriage. And so when it came time to make one, we had, literally 30 years of experience and research that, okay, this is how you make a great movie. Now, certainly we didn't know anything on the technical side from that, but we knew full well how a great movie was supposed to be structured.
Well, then how did you know when the screenplay was ready? Which one of you said, you know what, we got it,
are we talking works in progress or are we talking terminal? Because works in progress, we continued to revise. We made a last minute character change that I told my husband, I said, it is going to completely change dialogue. He's like, no, it isn't. But he realized that as we were going along, yes, this is a different character.
Right.
So we were constantly rewriting, with works in progress. With Terminal, that was definitely easier.
We could have shot the first draft of Terminal. I mean, it was really clean right off the bat, and we ended up going through 5 versions, but with a lot of little, excuse me, a lot of other little revisions along the way. But you know, having done it once, we had a pretty good idea what we needed to do the second time around. And as we're writing our 3rd and 4th ones now, I think they'll be incredibly clean right from the get-go.
Well, and I want to add one thing. You know, you were talking about, you know, how to write a screenplay. Okay, now this is one of the differences between us. I got online and I did research on how to write a screenplay. I mean, I had my, you know, inciting incident. I had the hook, you know, inciting incident. You know, I knew the first reversal. We had the nip, you know, I had it all. Okay. And every time I bring that up, that was not going to be, you know, part of it. But what I did find is I kept my little graph thing going there, okay? But Steve, when we would write, would have a natural feel for what needed to happen. And I think that goes back to that 30 years of watching movies. We learn very differently. I love taking structured classes. I just think, you know, that sort of thing. Steve absorbs, and very much that sort of mentor-apprentice. He'll ask people things, you know, and find out from...
And then know how to immediately incorporate it into your vision.
Yes. Sometimes it works like that.
No, and I've seen Works in Progress, which is the first film, and it is incredible. When I look at that film, I cannot believe that this is too novice, beginning, never before filmmakers. I mean, it's crazy how good it is, and it's a feature-length film. Most first-time filmmakers do
most reasonable people make a short first.
So talk about the decision to out the gate.
I will so let you take that.
You want to blame me? I said, okay. I knew that if we were going to do it, like everything else in my life, it had to be full bore, and I wasn't willing to commit the resources to make a short that I knew had absolutely no market. To make something like that. It was just like, okay, we're going to make a feature that at least has the potential to be sold, to get picked up by a distributor, things like that, to, you know, play at theaters. And because of that, you know, it was just like, okay, we're going to go for the gusto. It was truly a gutsy call. There's no question. The gutsiest part was Mary coming along with me and agreeing, okay, well, let's make a feature film. And to me, the real shock was that we made it with an entirely first-time cast and crew, except for one person. So the rest of the people had never been involved with film before. But I just had a confidence that we would be able to pull it off, and I'm just real grateful that God didn't let us fail. I mean, that's what it boiled down to.
Well, we are going to take a break here in a second. When we come back, I want to talk about the advantage that you have perhaps over other new filmmakers because of your background in marketing and finance. Because the thing that you said that a lot of artists don't think about is the other side, the business side. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take that break. And when we come back, more with the Pruitts.
And now, another adventure with Savings Man.
Look, honey, the neighbors just bought a big screen TV.
Hey, I just got a bonus at work. Maybe we should get one too.
Hold on there.
Savings Man.
Using your bonus to secure your future by paying down debt or saving is a better way to go.
Well, I declare you're right, Savings Man.
Stay ahead by choosing to save. And don't worry about keeping up with the Joneses.
But their name is Johnson.
For more tips and tools, visit choosetosave.org today.
This city, in which we make our homes, is a vibrant, beautiful place to live. Looking around, it's hard not to see a world of excitement, of wonderful arts, and of opportunity. But under its bridges, and in its alleys and parks, there exists a very different world, a world of pain, of violence, of hopelessness. It isn't enough to see this world with your eyes. To understand this world, you have to see it with your heart. This young woman is someone's daughter. These are her friends.
My question is, how long have you been in this area? As far as like, how long have you been not living in a house, but maybe living out here?
I've done it for
Ain't that cool?
some time. I've pretty much been doing it since I was like 10.
We are looking to see whether or not there are any females here that we can interview.
Well, there is down on the far side. Yeah.
This homeless camp is located inside a park in Jackson County. With the aid of the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, we went in search of the people who live here. Sadly, the two women who live in this camp were too afraid to appear on camera. But this is where and how they live.
Thank you for staying with us at the Artist Tree. I am Lonita Cook, your host, and we are talking with Steve and Mary Pruitt. Before we went for our break, we were discussing your background in marketing and finance and the advantage that it's giving you with having a fuller view of what you want to do and need to do when making a film. Because my idea about it is that a lot of artists, filmmakers, writers, painters, whatever, they create the work that's in them and then wait to see how well it'll do. You, with your professional background in marketing, you know to create work that will be viable.
I think that's true, but at the same time, as you said, I mean, you've got to make, in our case, the film that's in us.
Right.
And I think, but the key for us was that I wanted to make a film that I thought at least had potential. We did have a target market in mind. In our case, it was college-educated women over the age of 30. And so as long as we went forward with the film, we were thinking, this is our market, because this is actually that's the kind of movies we liked. So let's make that movie. And so we were pretty determined to just aim straight toward that, and it kept us from going off into some different directions that we might not have had such success with. And we were also thinking again about I wanted this film to be distributed. I really wanted to make something that can be good enough.
That was one of the goals.
Right. We started off with 3 goals in mind, and one of them was to end up with a distribution deal with a significant distributor. One was to make the Heartland Film Festival, and one was to make a film that we were proud of. And we made all 3 of those objectives. Now, sadly, becoming millionaires was not one of the 4th goals, because that one is definitely not going to happen.
On the next film.
On the next
right?
film, exactly.
But that's the part that is making goal-oriented work. I think that's the part that I'm talking about. A lot of artists don't have a goal except to, fulfill their soul. At least that's what I do when I work.
Sure.
I want to write, what makes me happy, and I'm like at my computer grinning.
Right.
And then later artists think about the audience.
Right.
So
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that the other side is that some people, a lot of people do, is that they just don't finish the projects.
Right.
And as a academic for so many years, it's the publish or perish mentality. And I've been fortunate that I haven't perished. And so we have this mentality, and that's okay. I've got to write a paper. I've got to finish it off. Got to send it in for review, and then I have to do the revisions. Got to follow up. And so that straightforward mindset of getting this product finished translated really well into the films. And it's just like, there are certain steps one has to take to make a movie, and this is the number one thing is it's got to be finished. If you're going to have success, it's got to get done, as opposed to left on the shelf.
Sure.
But something else that I would add with respect to independent filmmaking and your approach and your goals and that sort of thing. When we were in Hollywood for our very first film festival in Los Angeles, I was going to all the workshops, and one of the things, we had a panel of producers there, and basically they were giving us the advice. You pick the target market, okay, and then you write everything completely to that from the back forward. And in other words, here's the thing. For instance, if you think you want to sell this at Christmas time, you have to make sure and have certain elements. And when Steve says we had a target market, we did, but it didn't begin when we first sat down to write that. That's something that emerged as we were looking at it. We were like, this is who, because we would give it to people to read, these are the people that this seems to resonate with.
Right.
And one of the reasons is because of our leading lady was in, almost 30. So given that, it it's just odd how a lot of the establishment will tell independent filmmakers to basically be established, when the whole point of an independent film is to become. Yes, it is to break new ground, is to have something new and something fresh, and because they can do that other much better than we can, and they can do it for a lot less money with bigger stars.
And when we talked about your goals and working from the back forward, one of them was to make not just a film that you were proud of, but Hollywood quality film. And so the thing that when I was watching Works in Progress, I thought, oh my goodness, how beautiful the cinematography is. Each frame looked like a painting, seriously, that could be hung on, well, my wall. You know? And so I want to talk to you about thorough and hard work and diligence, because not having a background in film and then being able to create this product, talk about what it takes to do that.
It's a simple formula, and I tell it to a lot of people. It says good, fast, cheap. Pick any two, but you can't have all three. Right. In our case, we insisted upon good, and that to us meant beautiful. It meant everything that we were aiming for, the Hollywood quality. And we didn't have a lot of money to throw at it, so that's the cheap side. And that meant, therefore, it could not be fast. We had to work very slowly. And we did work slowly. When we're working on a film, we'll shoot for 4 to 5 months full time, 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. And so it's an incredibly slow process. But as you said, I mean, this is our objective, is that every, I won't tell them to hit record. Won't call, camera action until I'm confident that I could hang that shot on a wall. Sure. And that it does take a lot of effort. It's just like, okay, do we have an eye light? Do we have this? What's the lighting look like? How's the audio? I mean, it's all got to be there, and it doesn't happen. In our case, working with a tiny little crew like we have, like 8 people, it doesn't happen quickly. It has to, evolve slowly with this group. But when it happens, it's a beautiful thing. We're really happy with it.
We're going to talk about resources, because you said that it can't be cheap, and you guys didn't have a lot of money. But we have to let's make sure that we talk about, I think this is the part that separates you a little bit from other filmmakers, because when we talk about resources, you guys, adhere to industry standards, and when I say industry standards, I mean SAG, right? You use top shelf equipment, and when I say top shelf, I'm saying the same camera and equipment that they used on Prometheus, Pirates of the Caribbean. You're using quality equipment, and when you are employing your actors, you're paying them union wage.
Well, yeah, low union wage.
Fortunately, SAG has this ultra low budget, which is really very nice. But yes, we do insist upon.
And so it's different than a lot of independent films. Sometimes when we do independent films, we're volunteering our work, we're volunteering our time, and so it's not just, the frame is beautiful and you can hang it on the wall, but it's also the way that you set up shop.
Right.
So talk about how that has impacted your position in the film community.
What's our position in the film community?
Or how do you think? How do you think?
I think that well, when we started off, we would talk to people and say that our goal was to make something that looked like Hollywood.
Right.
And I think a lot of people felt that wasn't even within the realm of possibility.
Right.
And it might, in retrospect, they could have been right. Now, it turned out I think we were right, but we didn't really know. But I knew that was the objective, was to make something that could be confused to having been made in Hollywood. And I had an idea as to how I thought we could do it. And again, we had never, worked in film before in any way, shape, or form. So the model was probably something just dreamed up out of our own heads, or at least in my head, diseased as it is.
He's the visionary.
He's the visionary. There's a difference between a vision and a hallucination, but we're not quite sure what the difference is in our case.
But perhaps success,
right? Could be the same thing. But that was really what it was. Is I insisted upon the highest possible quality standards that we could achieve. And I just believed that we could make it really go. I just believed that we could, and we're just happy we managed to achieve it.
Well, and one thing that we have the advantage of, and because we do need to go slowly, because we do have a tiny crew, and because this man will not compromise on quality at all,
right?
We were able to, our girls were finished with college, we had some money that ordinarily we might use for something else, but instead we bought our equipment. So a lot of these independent filmmakers, bless their heart, they are renting everything, and it's expensive, especially if you're trying to get that top quality, you know, equipment. And I think that's something that maybe other people in the film community don't realize, is that we're able to do this because we do have this equipment. We can go really, really slowly. But I think one of the things that Steve would encourage people to do is you can go really, really slowly without this awesome equipment if you just take the time.
Right.
Yeah, you can make something amazing. You know, listen, a great filmmaker can make the most incredible thing with the worst camera. It's, you know, it's all great equipment does is get you that much closer, but it doesn't make it an amazing film ever.
And I think that you might be right. Your first film, your very first film, it won the Canada International Film Festival.
I'm really pleased with that.
Oh, I'm pleased with it too, if I can. You know.
Too late for the cover of the DVD.
Yeah, too late.
So spread the word.
Yeah.
Oh yes, and that's an incredible thing. And then you have Voices, which is a short documentary about homelessness in Kansas City, correct? And then you have a film, Terminal, that we've mentioned, which is in post-production. What do you want your body of work to represent?
Redemptive films. Redemptive films. We're trying to make a statement that there is, you know, the world is broken and needs to be fixed, and we think our films we'd like them to be a part of that general story.
Part of the healing.
Right. Part of the healing.
And how about you? Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And with Terminal, for instance, without going into the plot,
we wouldn't want to give away the secrets.
Yeah, I know. One of the things the thing is when you write a story, you're writing of your experiences or people that you know, and you're writing for people that are going through those experiences. So hopefully, when they come out of the movie, they might feel more at peace because, okay, I didn't look at that situation from that perspective. Because when they go into the movie theater, I mean, if it's a good movie, they become a part of the art.
Excellent.
And they take that with them.
Fantastic. Well, we are at the end of our show together, and I want to thank you both so much for being here. You are just a breath of fresh air.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. I'm going to shake your hand here. I'm going to shake yours. Thank you. Our featured calendar event for this week is Fairy Houses and Forts. It is an exhibition at Powell Gardens that's a great family adventure. It features 7 large-scale fairy houses and forts, and it runs through October 7th. My name's Lonita Cook. This has been The Artistry, and remember, stay art active. We'll see you next time.